Hello, Jackson Ice. And first off, I apologize for the new um, surroundings yet again. It seems like of all my videos, I think I've had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven different locations that I've shot my videos in. But this is actually kind of an oldie one, but because if you remember back in my early days, anybody who is still subscribed from those days, I reviewed the George Romero Dead series back out here. And I also apologize if you hear some voices. My grandparents have their um, news bullshit on extremely loud. But I have some new accommodations, if you can see. And yes, I will be going over this in a later video soon, so I'll get that out of the way. This is just hi, babe. My wife is here. But yes, I will be going over this at a later date because I got a new movie collection thing. This is all of it from top to bottom. This is all my movies and TV shows. I just kind of wish there was a way I could go lower and show off more of this thing, but whatever. And also, I wish this wasn't here and that wasn't there, but whatever. But today I am undertaking. So glad my wife is here. Today I am undertaking a project that I am almost 100% sure has never been done before. There's been lots of ranking video. Hi, babe. There's been lots of ranking videos that have been made for the Godzilla, King Kong, Gamera, and Toho and Dai films. Like they rank all the Godzilla movies. That one's pretty common. Or they rank all the Kong movies, which Smittenator, you and I are going to have to redo that video because I deleted it off my channel. Or they rank the Gamera movies and they rank either the Godzilla and Gamera movies together or such. But my wife is bugging me. Sorry. It's just a prop, Smittenator. Anyway. Oh, yeah. So, of all the ranking videos that have ever been done, I am fairly certain that a video like this has never been done before. Today, I will be ranking all Toho, Dai, and Kong films, as the title suggests. I will be ranking the Godzilla movies, other Toho sci-fi flicks, Kong films, and Dai movies, particularly Gamera and the Daimajin series. That is 75 or 74 movies in one giant list. I had to redo this list 5 or 6 times before I finally got it right. So that's partially why I have been on such a long. It's been this video has taken so long to get out, but I've also had to do some other stuff along the way, and I cleaned house with my YouTube channel. I'll get into that later, but essentially that's the biggest reason why it took so long for this video to get done, is because I had to redo the list multiple times. Because like I said, I am fairly certain that this is the first time a video like this has ever been done. And also, apologies if the lighting keeps changing. It's very cloudy today, and it can't decide if it wants to be cloudy or sunny. So apologies if the lighting keeps going off and on. But that's why it's taken so long to get this out. It's just because I had to keep redoing it. Now, I originally thought it was supposed to be 74 movies. I'm fairly certain that it is 74 movies, but my list here says it's 75, and I cannot tell where I may have accidentally repeated a movie here or there. So if I do, I mean, I'll probably have this video edited down. So who knows? Maybe I'll find that mistake later. But with all that being said, 75 movies, all Godzilla, Kong, Gamera, Daimajin, and other Toho films are being ranked in this list. This will be a long one. So hold on to your butts and let's get on with ranking all TohoDaeiKong films. At number 75, at the absolute bottom of the motherfucking barrel. This is the absolute worst. Oh, wait, no. Before I get to that list, one more disclaimer. I also am aware that I'm leaving out a couple of movies in this list, like Orochi the Eight-Headed Dragon. Actually, these two in particular, Orochi the Eight-Headed Dragon and Message from Space. No, Message from War in Space. Excuse me. Hang on. True. Sorry. Yeah, those are the two movies that I am leaving out, and the only reason I am is just because I cannot get my hands on those movies, and honestly, I don't really have any desire to see them. So those are the only two movies I'm leaving out on this list. But other than that, this is the definitive list for how I rank all of these movies. And at number 75, at the bottom of the barrel, the absolute worst monster or sci-fi movie to ever be made by any of these companies. At the bottom of the barrel is Gamera Super Monster. Yes, I am definitively saying Gamera Super Monster is the worst monster movie I have ever seen in my life. We all know why Gamera Super Monster is so infamous. It's because Dai was so desperate to make money. Dai was so desperate to get out of a bad situation. And Dai was so desperate to just no, Smitty, no. Gamera Super Monster is not great. It's not great at all. The sole reason that this movie was made is because Dai just wanted to make a quick few bucks, and they shit this movie out into theaters. And I don't understand how anybody could have expected this to make money. If this kind of thing was released, yes, it miserably flopped. If a movie like this was made nowadays, it wouldn't even make $1 million. I highly doubt this would make $1 million. I just do not understand why Dai thought making this movie was a good idea. There's movies that are bad. Then there's movies that are so bad they're entertaining. Then there are those movies that are bad but they're interesting to talk about. And then there are those movies that are just so horrifically bad that you just feel like you lose a little bit of faith in humanity once you're done watching it. And I think Gamera Super Monster falls into that category. What can I say about Gamera Super Monster that hasn't been said already by other people and myself in my own review? It's got terrible acting, terrible effects that aren't stock footage, a ridiculous story. It's a blatant Star Wars ripoff and a blatant Superman ripoff. It's just a terrible, 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 terrible movie. And the only reason that anybody should ever watch it is if A, they're a diehard Gamera fan, B, they're a diehard monster movie fan, or C, if they're wanting to do an audio commentary for it for a series of audio commentaries on their own channel. Looking at you, Dragon and Ashley, and my heart goes out to you both because you had to sit through this trek. Whoa, Gamera Super Monster is just garbage. Coming right below that at number 74 is, in my opinion, the absolute worst Godzilla movie ever made, Godzilla the Planet Eater. I think I might actually have to say that Gamera Super Monster and Godzilla the Planet Eater are equally terrible for different reasons. I will say at least that Planet Eater isn't 1/3 stock footage, but I'm pretty sure Godzilla the Planet Eater is 2/3 exposition and only 1/3 boring, bland stuff going on. I will never say that there's action in this movie because there is none. It's just a piss poor finale to a series that had a lot of potential, but for some reason, either the studio didn't want the directors of these movies to uphold that potential, or somebody threw this together and legitimately thought it was good. I don't really know which one is the more likely of the two. I'm sorry, Smitty. I thought Planet Eater was boring as fuck. Yeah, there you go. As what Justin said. Super Monster is too lazy of a product, whereas Planet Eater is way too different of a Godzilla adaptation for its own good. Absolutely. Absolutely so. Yes, Planet Eater is the only reason that I give Planet Eater a spot below Super Monster is because by default I am a Godzilla fan first and foremost before a Gamera fan. But that's the only reason that I give Planet Eater a spot below Super Monster. Planet Eater is a piece of dog kaiju shit. At number 73 is Gamera versus Zigra. A lot of these early spots are going to be given to Gamera movies. Gamera versus Zigra, it suffers from some of the issues of Gamera Super Monster, but the biggest issue that Gamera versus Zigra suffers from is that like Smitty said, it's boring. It is insufferably boring. It's 90 minutes long, and I'd probably say it's about 75 minutes worth of the movie is just boring drivel. And what action scenes that there are piss poorly done, but at least it's just something for your mind to latch onto that's not just boring drivel. I'd consider the Ultra series even then to be a massive improvement over Gamera. Sure, the Ultraman franchise was kind of cheap in its early years, but at least it had heart to it. At least it felt like a sincere effort by everyone that was working on it. The Gamera series, a lot of it just kind of felt like the studio executives throwing out monster movies because monster movies are popular, and that's it. That's the only reason that they were made. The only reason I give Gamera versus Zigra the spot below Gamera Super Monster is for Zigra himself. If you watch this movie for Zigra himself, there are far worse monsters out there for you to look at and also latch on to. Zigra at least has a great design and he has decent motivations, and there is some potential with his character if the movie was done better. Like there could have been a scene where Zigra and Gamera actually fight together to save the Earth for a while, but Zigra gets too violent against the humans and Gamera has to defeat him. That right there would have made for a much better movie. And it also kind of could have been a fourth Gamera movie in the Heisei Gamera series. But no, Gamera versus Zigra is what it is at the moment, and Gamera versus Zigra is just one of the worst monster movies of all time. Definitely a competitor for the most boring. I wouldn't say it's the most, but it's definitely up there. Coming in at 72 is Gamera versus Virus. Suffering from a lot of the same issues of Gamera versus Zigra, it's boring, and it also has a lot of stock footage. What can I say about Gamera versus Virus that I haven't said already? It's one of the worst monster movies of all time. Virus himself is one of the laziest monsters I have ever seen in my life. A giant silver squid. Boring. Um, if it was cut down to like a 45-minute TV special, I think it would have been a better movie because you wouldn't have a near 20-minute block of stock footage in the film. And I checked, it's 80 minutes long and it uses 20 minutes worth of stock footage. So it literally could have been cut down to an hour in length. And it's got some of the worst green screen effects I've ever seen in any monster movie. It's just one of the worst monster movies ever made. Gamma versus Virus is just garbage. Jesus. It's movies like this that give Gamma a bad rap. And sometimes I think it's deserved. And also, by the way, I'm not really going to linger on each individual installment all that much. What is more frustrating for you, if a film is rushed or if it's boring? I don't know. That's an interesting question. I'll have to get back to that at a later date. But some of these I'm not really going to linger on all that much. Unless I have some new stuff to say about them. So I won't. I'll try to be somewhat quick, but this still is going to be a fairly long one. Coming in at number 71 is The Human Vapor. Right off the bat, I wasn't really going into this movie expecting much, but when I came out of it, I just felt nothing. That is true. I think at worst, because a film can still be entertaining, but still also be rushed. That's just a flaw of the movie. So yeah, I do think that a more frustrating aspect is if a film is boring, because even like I said, with a rushed movie, at least it can still be entertaining. Anyway, I came out of The Human Vapor feeling absolutely nothing. I do think that it is Ishiro Honda's weakest movie. I think it doesn't really have. I don't see the potential in the film. At best, I think The Human Vapor would have been better if it was just a Twilight Zone episode, not a full-length feature film. So The Human Vapor, it's Ishiro Honda's weakest movie. It just offers to me nothing. Maybe because it's made for a specific audience, like fans of crime thrillers and fans of film noir. Maybe people like that will like it more than me. But when I watched this movie, I just felt absolutely nothing. The only thing that I will give it credit for is that Yoshio Tsuchiya does do a good job as the gas man. Other than that, the movie just gave me absolutely nothing. And I will not say that this is Yoshio Tsuchiya's best performance. I still say that's Invasion of the Astro Monster. That's just me. At number 70 is Half Human. Half Human is one of those examples of a big, bitter disappointment. When I first watched Adam Noyes' review for Half Human, the movie sounded really cool. And I always had known of the film's legacy as being Toho's most sought-after, lost, or rare movie. And when I finally did watch it, I can't begin to describe to you how disappointed I was. It didn't help that the quality of the film that I saw was just obscenely terrible. But it's another example of a film that has so much potential, but still just flushed it down the shitter. No, not even Akira Takarada saved the film for me. And I don't think Half Human is a precursor to. Well, okay, the monster for Half Human was should have been the template for how Eiji Tsuburaya should have done Kong in King Kong vs. Godzilla, but no, he did a complete rubber suit. Granted, I've seen worse looking Sasquatches, but I've also seen far better. The movie is just, it's one of those movies that would have been better if it was made later with better effects, and also if it kind of took out some of those aspects of the script where that would have been offensive to people, at least at the time. But Half Human was just a big bitter disappointment, and it's one of those movies that I think definitely should be remade. But it kind of already has unofficially many times with all the Killer Sasquatch movies. But Half Human is just a bitter disappointment. At number 69, giggity, is Dogora. Uh, Dogora. Probably Ishiro Honda's most generic movie. There's probably a few people out there. Well, there's probably some people out there who do like Dogora, and there's probably some diehard Ishiro Honda fans out there who do like Dogora. And if you do like Dogora, that's perfectly fine. There are aspects of the film to like, but overall, it suffers from the fact that Ishiro Honda clearly wanted to do a different movie. It's got Sinister 2 syndrome. It's got massive Sinister 2 syndrome. It's clear that Ishiro Honda wanted to make a different movie. But the Toho executives said, "You're typecast to be a monster movie, man." That's it. Really, there's not much that if you watch Dogora, you're really not going to get much out of it. It's just kind of a meh. It's a meh movie. It's Ishiro Honda's most generic movie. I will give a credit though that for the aspects of the movie that do kind of work is the final action scene where all the criminals get kind of in a funny way smushed by a giant falling Dogora rock. That final action scene is somewhat entertaining. I knew that. I knew that already, but yeah, we should have mentioned that. Dogora is just a bland monster movie. And that's really all that you can say about it. It's just meh. And number 68 is Gorath. The only reason that I give Gorath props over Dogora is that everybody still felt like they were enthusiastic about making the film. Dogora just kind of felt like everyone was going through the motions, whereas Gorath actually feels like a sincere effort from the filmmakers. But outside of that, it's got extremely boring human characters, a ridiculous concept, moving the planet Earth out of the way of a traveling giant comet that's going to collide into it. What? Again, that would have been better as an episode of the Twilight Zone, or maybe Ultra Q. But and another thing that Gorath does have going for it is the special effects for the miniatures and the flood and the big South Pole base. Those are props that can be given to the film, but outside of that, Gorath is just meh. At number 67 is the first King Kong movie on this list, King Kong Lives. Not much to say about it. It's got potential, but it's got boring human characters except for Linda Hamilton and her boyfriend. They're shitty Kong effects. Bye. Well, not really shitty Kong effects. Shitty Kong roars. That we'll give it that. It just feels soulless. King Kong Lives just feels like a soulless movie that nobody wanted to do, nobody wanted to make, and nobody really gave a shit about. There probably are some people out there. Actually, I got a comment on my King Kong Lives video a couple days ago saying I actually do like this movie. So there probably are a scant few people out there who do like King Kong Lives, but for me, it's just not my King Kong movie. It is definitely my least favorite King Kong film. I have no nostalgia for it, and I have absolutely no desire to ever see it again unless it is re-released on DVD. But the only reason that I will buy it is just to be a completionist King Kong fan. That's it. King Kong Lives just doesn't do much for me. At number 66 is Gamera versus Guiron. Kind of suffers from a lot of the same issues of Gamera versus Virus. However, it doesn't have nearly as much stock footage, thankfully. I think it has maybe 4 minutes of stock footage. Really, this movie suffers for me because it's got really shitty monster fights. Extremely repetitive music. A bad English dub. Oh my god. And it just doesn't do much for me. I will give it props of it being, again, I think that the movie should have been cut down to like a TV special like Gamera versus Virus because there's also a lot of filler. But I will give the movie props for actually being the only installment of the entire franchise to take place on a different planet, kind of like Invasion of the Astro Monster. And also Guiron is a pretty cool looking sorry. Guiron is an interesting looking monster. And I don't know. Oh, the sets for the alien world are pretty imaginative and are pretty fun to watch. But other than that, Gamera versus Guiron, it's just forgettable. At number 65 is Gamera versus Gauss. Hang on. Maybe. Anyway, yeah, number 65 is Gamera versus Gauss. Really not a fan of Gauss. The movie does suffer for me because I do prefer Gamera versus Barugan over this movie any day. Gamera versus Barugan was the high point of the Showa Gamera series, and everything is just downhill from there. And it never really rose above. Well, yeah, it's definitely the best of the Gamera series post Gamera versus Barugan, but that's really not that much of a compliment because the rest of the franchise from here on out is just utter dog shit. Do I feel Gamera versus Gauss is like a prototype of Guardian of the Universe? It may have been. Like, I'm sure that the people who made Guardian of the Universe looked back at Gamera versus Gauss and said, hey, let's do that, but better. Well, they technically do, but mostly by default. But not really a fan of Gamera versus Gauss. It's got way cheaper special effects. Sort of better monster fights, but that's also kind of by default because admittedly the monster fights in Barugan are just kind of experimental, but overall, it really just suffers from being the movie after Barugan for me because the Showa series never got as good as Barugan for me ever again after that. So there's not really much for me to say about Gamera versus Gauss. It's boring. It's a massive downgrade. I don't like that Gamera design. I don't like Gauss. Gauss is my least favorite Gamera monster. Well, no, my second least favorite Gamera monster. I just don't like it. It's just not for me. And number 64 is Gamera versus Jiger. Again, it suffers from the same issues as Gamera versus Gauss. It's boring. It's a massive downgrade. It's got decent monster fights, but they're not spectacular. The only reason that I give Jiger better over Gauss is because A, I like the scenes where the kids go into Gamera's stomach, and B, the final moment in the movie when Gamera is fighting Jiger and how Gamera kills Jiger. It's entertaining. It's probably the best part of the movie, and also seeing Gamera stick two telephone poles into his ears. It's fucking ridiculous, but it's also funny. But Gamera versus Jiger, there's just not much to say about it. It's just run-of-the-mill Gamera at this point. And number 63 is Godzilla vs. Mothra, 1992. I've harped on this movie so many times, so I'm just going to be quick. It should have been a standalone Mothra movie. It should have been anything else but a Godzilla movie. Godzilla feels so shoehorned, so forced, and so shoved in. It's laughable how bad it is in this movie. But it's also incredibly frustrating. It's got some moments in the film that are entertaining, and compared to the previous movies that I just mentioned, I would rather watch Mothra 92 than any of these movies. But still, Mothra 92 has a butt-fuck ton of problems. It's my second least favorite Godzilla movie of all time, and it just really should have not been a Godzilla movie. Or if it was to be a Godzilla movie, make Godzilla more integral to the fucking story. Fuck. Don't like this movie. At number, let's see, 62 is Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, 1991. Don't like it. Don't like the time travel aspect. The English dub is fucking terrible. The characters are all boring. The only good thing about this movie is Godzilla himself and the special effects. Yeah. It's just a boring mess of a movie for me. And I think it's one of the most overrated Godzilla movies or monster movies that I have ever seen in my entire life. Only thing good about it is Godzilla. Matter of fact, if Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah was to be edited down to a short where it was a little bit of the beginning and then all the Godzilla scenes and King Ghidorah fight scenes, the movie would be far better, but I think it'd only be like 40 minutes long. Actually, it's not a bad idea. But yeah, I don't like King Ghidorah. I think it's an incredibly overrated, incredibly overhyped bore fest. The only thing that's good about it is Godzilla and the special effects. That's it. And 61 is Godzilla versus Destroyer. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of fans of this movie out there, but I just do not. I don't like Godzilla vs. Destroyer. I've tried to like Destroyer. I just can't do it. I don't like watching Godzilla die. Also doesn't really have the greatest dub. I mean, compared to the one for King Ghidorah, it is fairly competent, but I don't like the dub. Special effects are great, but there's also a lot of bad points. The music is great. I will give the movie that. And to me, it also doesn't really feel like a finale to the Heisei Godzilla series, especially due to the fact that Godzilla was resurrected at the very end of the fucking movie, and they never made a follow-up to that. What the fuck? Destroyer just really does not do much for me, and just keeps losing value for me over time. Actually, a lot of my least favorite Godzilla movies just keep losing value for me over time, but Destroyer just doesn't do much for me. It's depressing, it's draining, and it's just not a fun movie to sit through. Sorry. And number 60 is Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris. My least favorite of the Heisei Gamera trilogy for many, many reasons. It's got one of the worst fuck you endings that I have ever seen in my life from any movie ever made. It's got some of the weakest monster fights from any monster movie I've ever seen. It's definitely a contender for some of the weakest monster fights of the entire Gamera series. It's also got one of the most unlikable protagonists slash antagonists of the entire monster movie genre. That, of course, being Ayana. Watch my Gamera 3 review to hear my full thoughts on Ayana. To short and sweet version of it is I just can't stand her. I think she is. Yes, I know. I mentioned that previously. If Iris did better at the box office, Kaneko would have turned out a fourth one, but it did not happen. And I think that's a goddamn shame. But I just don't like Gamera 3. There is aspects of this movie that there is to like, but they just should have been in a better movie. Gamera 3 just doesn't do that much for me. I'm sorry. At number 59 is GMK. Kind of speak of the devil. I also kind of give GMK a lot of props because it's a Godzilla movie over a Gamera movie, and it's done by the same people. It's got great effects, well, great practical effects, a fantastic music score, and fun monster action. But outside of that, GMK is just GMK is a frustrating sit. It should have gone with its original vision of having Anguirus and Varan. Yuri Tachibana is fucking insufferable to watch. GMK is also highly overrated. I like the dark tone, but I think at times it's a little too dark. The bullshit cliffhanger ending is extremely frustrating to watch and just leaves me pulling my hair out, what's left of it, every time I sit through it. It's got a really bad dub too. Overall, GMK, it's got a lot of problems that just drive me absolutely insane. And I kind of feel like it suffers from a lot of the same issues as Gamera 3, though at least GMK has far better monster fights than Gamera 3 does and better effects. But yeah, GMK is number 59. At number 58, War of the Gargantuas. Some people might have been expecting War of the Gargantuas to be far lower on this list, but that's when I realized compared to a lot of these previous movies, especially the really bad ones like the Human Vapor, Half Human. No, Smitty, I will not love War of the Gargantuas. I just find it to be incredibly overrated, and I'm going to shoot my wife with a Nerf gun. Bend over. Oh, you look cute.
Okay, go away.
Yeah, you. Anyway. I have a visitor now in her cute ponytails. Anyway, oh, fuck off, Smitty. Careful. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, War of the Gargantuas. I just find it to be overrated. It's got incredibly shitty human characters, an incredibly repetitive score, and while yes, it has really good special effects, unfortunately, it has a shitty monster movie fight to support it. It's just overrated. It's incredibly overrated, and I don't find it to be anywhere near as good as everyone else says that it is. And it looks like my cat also wants to join me too.
She probably just has to take a shit in it.
Oh, lit. Anyway, so War of the Gargantuas, it's just incredibly overrated. It's incredibly boring. It's got terrible human characters, especially Russ Tamblyn, because holy shit, is he just awful in this movie. War of the Gargantuas, it's just crap. And number 57 is Godzilla Monster Planet, or Planet of the Monsters, whatever the fucking it's called. Another movie that just has a crap ton of missed potential, but it didn't even come close to reaching that potential. I'll say it again and again. Monster Planet would have been much better if the story that's shown at the beginning of the movie was explored upon and made into like a TV show. Or the prequel novel to the film would have been made into a TV show. Or if all three of these movies would have just been edited down into one single feature. Would have been a much better movie, in my opinion. And yes, Dogora makes a 5-second cameo in the film. Whoop-de-fucking-do. So yeah, Monster Planet, really the biggest thing you can take away from it is lots of missed potential. And number 56 is Son of Kong. Another movie that had a lot of potential. I agree with James Rolfe in him saying, if the movie wasn't rushed, it could have been better than the original King Kong. But no, dumbass studio executives decided that they wanted to rush it out in the same fucking year. Never a good idea, you dumb fucks. But outside of that, I guess it is somewhat entertaining to watch if you're a diehard King Kong fan. I'm more of a Godzilla fan over a Kong fan, but still, Son of Kong, it's just okay. Lots of missed potential. And number 55, this is going to be a controversial one. Godzilla's Revenge. I'm not related to Michael Jackson. If I had $1 for every time that I've been asked, are you related to Michael Jackson? I'd be a millionaire. Exactly.
Also, you're not fun.
Exactly. Godzilla's Revenge, to me, it's a so bad it's good movie. I can watch the movie and enjoy it just because of how bad it is. A, the story that was behind it. B, and also it's got a fun audio commentary. C, and also D, I do have some nostalgia for it. It's one of those laughably bad movies that you can just sit back and... One thing I will say that Godzilla's Revenge is not is boring. I will never say Revenge is boring. It's kind of infuriating and it's kind of frustrating and it's also laughable to look at, but at least it's not boring. So I can sit back and watch Godzilla's Revenge any day. And no, I am not related to Andrew Jackson, jackass.
I need to brush for that.
Huh?
She has too much weed.
Yes, you do. And oh god, no, Ichiro is so fucking terrible to watch. But still, Godzilla's Revenge, it's a so bad it's good movie, and that's it for me. I can sit back and watch it and enjoy it, and have a soda and just enjoy it. If I have an hour to kill, I'll put in Godzilla's Revenge. Fuck it. I do too. And number 54 is Battle in Outer Space. Battle in Outer Space, I would say, is also another contender for one of Ishiro Honda's most generic movies. And it's got one of the weakest human casts that I've ever seen for any of Ishiro Honda's movies. But I do give Battle in Outer Space a lot of props for its special effects and its music. I like the music, I like the effects, and I like the action scenes. Everything around that is just bland and boring. Yes, it has. But Battle in Outer Space, if it was made nowadays, I think it would have been a much better movie. It feels like a 2.5 hour long film with better human characters and more fleshed out for its world building. It would have been a much better movie. And also, if at the last minute the budget didn't get slashed, it would. Even then, if Battle in Outer Space's budget did not get slashed at the very last minute, it would have been a better film. But no, it's a shame too. At number 53 is Atragon. This is one of those movies that I feel would have been far better as a TV show, not a movie. There's a shit ton of potential for a great TV show with this movie, but all of it is completely squandered away at the fact solely that it's a movie and not a show. Also, Atragon would have been helped if it wasn't so fucking rushed and if it wasn't so fucking short. If this movie had to remain as a film, it should have been 2.5 hours long, not an hour and a half long. It would have been far better if they actually took their fucking time on the movie and not just shit one out at the last minute. Just Toho saying, "Oh, we gotta get a movie out at the last minute. Here you go. Here's a movie." Atragon is a frustrating sit, and I'll stand by that to this day. It would have been far better as a TV show, not a movie. And number 52 is City on the Edge of Battle. I do say that it is the best of the Godzilla anime trilogy, mostly due to default, because I still say this. It comes closest to reaching its full potential, partially out of default, but that's also because it's the longest of the series, and also it has the most entertaining final act of all three movies. I also think Godzilla roars the most of the entire trilogy. I think in the first one he roars like 3 times. In Planet Eater he roars fairly often, but a lot of it's just too few and far between. Godzilla roars quite a bit in this movie, and it's nice, but it's just okay. It's strictly okay. And it would have been far better if we actually got a proper giant 300-meter tall Mechagodzilla to fight Godzilla Earth at the very end and not Mechagodzilla City. I think it's kind of a lame. It's a disgrace to Mechagodzilla. But overall, City on the Edge of Battle, it's just okay. At number 51, the original King Kong. I view the original King Kong as the Citizen Kane of monster movies. I think King Kong is a film that should be, it's academically, it's important, and I respect the film, but there are far better movies out there. There are far better monster movies out there, in my opinion. I like so many other monster movies more than the original King Kong. It's not even funny. Like I said, I view it as the Citizen Kane of monster movies. It invented a lot of techniques. It started a lot of plot points and elements that other monster movies in the future would expand upon and take and make into their own, and that's great. But the original King Kong just doesn't do much for me. That's all I really have to say. Watch my review of the original King Kong to get my full opinion. I find King Kong to be incredibly overrated. Yes, it's an important film, but it doesn't necessarily make it the best film. So that's my opinion. I think King Kong, again, it's just okay. There's far better movies out there, in my opinion. At number 50 is Rebirth of Mothra 2. In hindsight, I do think Rebirth of Mothra 2 is the weakest of the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy. It's got some good ideas, but it really suffers from incredibly bland human characters, some pretty bad spots of bad effects, in my opinion, and pretty stilted monster fights, but it's still very colorful. It's very imaginative, and it is a fun movie. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if everybody else says that Rebirth of Mothra 2 is the weakest of the three. But for me, still, I do like it, and I have a soft spot for it, so I like Rebirth of Mothra 2. But it's got a lot of problems. Let's see. At number 49 is King Kong versus Godzilla. I just don't get the praise for King Kong versus Godzilla. It's boring. It's poorly made. It would have been much better as either King Kong versus Frankenstein or Godzilla versus Frankenstein. King Kong and Godzilla are destined to fight each other. This is not the movie that they should have done it in. Hope to God Godzilla vs. Kong is a better movie than this. Terrible human characters, lots of spots of bad effects, and a terrible, terrible English dub, a horrendous Kong suit. No, it is not the greatest Showa film. It's the worst Showa-era Godzilla movie. I don't give a shit what anybody says. King Kong vs. Godzilla is not a good movie as far as I'm concerned. Just fuck King Kong vs. Godzilla. At number 48 is the original Daimajin. Another movie that has lots of potential, but it squanders it because A, it's a prototype. B, it's so short. C, it has terrible human characters outside of its villain. But there is things to like about the movie. I just feel like it was made in the wrong time period. Daimajin is one of those movies that, in my opinion, begs to be rebooted or remade. Remade as a 3-hour-long, super gritty period piece fantasy samurai kaiju film. That would have been a far better movie, in my opinion. But in its current state, Daimajin has potential, but it doesn't live up to it, not even close. And also, she's eating her food. At number 47 is Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster. Sorry. Ghidorah, Three-Headed Monster, it's prototype Godzilla King of the Monsters. Yes, that is correct. Daimajin was made by Dai. However, its music was composed by Akira Fukube. But Ghidorah, Three-Headed Monster, it's prototype Godzilla King of the Monsters. But Godzilla King of the Monsters takes that prototype and explodes it into a far superior movie. I will watch. If somebody was to say, which do you think is a better movie, Ghidorah, Three-Headed Monster or Godzilla King of the Monsters, any day, 150,000% of the time, I will say King of the Monsters is the better movie. Babe, I want to see it again. Three-Headed Monster just doesn't do much for me. Introduces King Ghidorah. Not a fan of King Ghidorah. I don't like Godzilla's design. It has its moments where it's entertaining, but overall, no, Pulgasari is not on this movie. I don't consider that to be part of the same series. Plus, I haven't seen it, and I have no way to see it. But yeah, King of the Three-Headed Monster, no. King of the Monsters is infinitely superior to Three-Headed Monster. Three-Headed Monster, nah. Moving on. At number 56 is The Mysterians. Another movie like Atragon that would have been far better as a TV show. Or as a longer film, and if it was remade with better effects and better characters. The highlight of the Mysterians is Moguera himself. In all the action scenes. Outside of that, the story is odd. The human characters are bland. The female characters are fucking atrocious. The music is good, but it's kind of sloppily edited throughout the film. Overall, The Mysterians has a lot of potential and would have been a much better movie as either a TV show or as a remake. If Koichi, or not Koichi Kawakita, or yeah, I guess Koichi Kawakita, if he had the opportunity to remake The Mysterians, that would have been a far superior film. Have The Mysterians with a Koichi Kawakita feel to it, that would have been a good movie. But as it stands, The Mysterians, it's okay. It's entertaining. It's not one of Ishiro Honda's best movies. It's not even one of Toho's best movies. It's just all right. At number 45 comes The H-Man. I do like The H-Man, but in hindsight, it's not very rewatchable. It's also definitely one of Ishiro Honda's strangest movies. I actually kind of feel like it may be, no. I don't know. It's kind of debatable on Ishiro Honda's strangest movie. And also I have heard some people say it's like a prototype version of The Human Vapor. While I do think that's true, and some people have also said that The Human Vapor is the H-Man perfected, that's where I take issue, because I will take the H-Man any day over The Human Vapor. Well, yes, it kind of does suffer from having Sinister 2 syndrome. A, it's nowhere near as bad as Dogora, and also B, it still feels like an enthusiastic, sincere effort by all the filmmakers involved. And The H-Man is still a very enjoyable film. In the overall scope of Toho sci-fi and monster movies, there's just far better. At number 44 is the original Mothra. Really not much to say about the original Mothra. Some of Eiji Tsuburaya's most unique special effects work, I'm not going to say it's one of some of his best, but I will say it's some of his most unique effects work. It's got good human characters. It's what, in my opinion, what solidified Hiroshi Koizumi as my favorite. Well, no, not as my favorite, but it's what solidified Hiroshi Koizumi as a great actor for Toho. Ooh, damn, that's. It also does help that the original Mothra has a pretty good audio commentary. My biggest issue, honestly, with the original Mothra is, one, I just think it's overall slightly kind of bland, but also the original script was far better of a movie. If they had gone with the original script, Mothra would have been a masterpiece. But instead, they chopped it down, dumbed it down, and simplified it. And I just don't like the finished product much as the original script. I disagree with that, but whatever. At number 43, hey Dan, you better be watching, comes Space Amoeba. Even though Mothra is an original concept, Space Amoeba kind of really isn't. It just kind of feels like a giant mishmash of rehashed ideas from other Toho movies. Space Amoeba is at least a fun movie. It's got a fun music score, fun monster fights, kind of. It just feels like it's a fun movie. I like the tone. I love jungle movies. And for some of the strangest and most forgettable monsters of all Toho's monster roster, at least they're fun to watch in the film. Overall, this movie is just fun. It's not amazing. It's got its flaws. But still, if you want to throw on a fun island monster movie, there's far worse out there, like the Monster of Piedras Blancas. Who the hell out there remembers that movie? So Space Amoeba, it's a fun movie. It's no masterpiece, but not every movie needs to be a masterpiece. Whatever. At number 42 comes Wrath of Daimajin. I know that this movie has two different titles. I know. I don't care. I prefer the title of Wrath of Daimajin over Daimajin Strikes Again, because to me that just fits more. You have Daimajin, Return of Daimajin, and Wrath of Daimajin. That sounds better than Daimajin, Return of Daimajin, and Daimajin Strikes Again. This doesn't fit to me. But Wrath of Daimajin is a big improvement over the first Daimajin movie, but it still suffers from it's too short, it squanders a lot of potential, and again, the Daimajin concept alone just should be made into a very violent, very gritty, 3-hour-long samurai kaiju fantasy epic. Not as 3 quickly thrown together short films that have so much potential, it's infuriating. But still, Wrath of Daimajin is a fun movie. It's just not my favorite of the trilogy. Yeah, and also Strikes Again it sounds like a very cliche title. Let's see. At number 41, we have Matango. Matango, many people probably rank it higher than I do. My biggest problem with Matango is that it is really not very rewatchable. I'd actually probably say that's my biggest problem with Matango is that it's so unrewatchable. And it's also not a fun movie. You can watch Matango maybe once a year. But outside of that, it certainly is one of Ishiro Honda's most unique movies. I would not quite say that it's one of his best movies per se, but it's definitely one of his most unique movies. And I can't deny I would have liked to see Ishiro Honda make more horror movies because Matango technically is a horror movie. Damn it, I lost my train of thought. Matango is an interesting movie. It's got good human characters. It's got great effects. It's got a creepy music score. It's got creepy moments. It's a decent 1960s horror movie. Again, its sole problem is that it's just not very rewatchable. It's also got a slow pacing. I don't like a slow pacing. Here, it works about 80% of the time. There are some moments where it really does drag, but overall, Matango is certainly a unique movie. And if you wanted to sit down with a couple of friends and watch a different kind of horror movie, Matango is certainly up your alley. At number 40, 40 is Varan the Unbelievable. I think from here on out, these are all movies that I do like and I do thoroughly enjoy watching. There's a couple ones here and there that are kind of odd ones out, but I'm basing this list on opinion, mainly opinion, but I also am basing this list on quality of the film. But whatever. So at number 40 comes the Varan the Unbelievable. Yes, it's generic. Yes, it's run of the mill. Yes, it screams of originally being a TV movie, lengthened out to feature length. But yes, Varan needs more love. And it's a goddamn shame that Varan did not appear in all of the other movies that he was supposed to be in, because Varan is one of the most miserably underrated monsters I have ever seen of all time. His movie's not perfect, but it's still entertaining for what it is. If you just want a entertaining monster movie, Varan is up your alley. I like Varan. Ifukube's score is fucking awesome. The action scenes are amazing. The special effects are fantastic, except for the underwater stuff. The underwater stuff in Varan the Unbelievable is just atrocious. And also the ending is a complete farce. It kind of suffers from King Kong syndrome. But Varan the Unbelievable, it's a fun movie. It's not perfect, but it's enjoyable. Number 39 is the original Rodan. One of Ishiro Honda's best movies. It's very, very, very fun to watch. Great effects, good characters, good story, great dark tone, fun monster action. Overall, what's not to like about Rodan? Two problems. One, it's way too short. And B, it kind of has Sinister 2 syndrome. I would have loved to see Ishiro Honda direct a horror movie about giant killer bugs. That would have been awesome. But the movie is the way it is. So Rodan is still a very enjoyable movie, and I will not take away any praise from Rodan. It's a fun movie. It's a well-made movie. Just overall, in the overall scope of kaiju movies, there are some that I like more. At number 38, this is another odd one out, is Gamera, Guardian of the Universe. For a long time, I did not like Guardian of the Universe. As I said in my review, for a long time, it was one of my least favorite Gamera movies. Did you just shit?
No. If I shit, you'd be dead.
Kinky.
Mama might have.
But in hindsight, Gamera Guardian of the Universe is not that bad of a movie. It just has a lot of problems. It's got bland human characters. It's way too fucking short. I don't like Gauss. I don't like the design for Gauss. I don't like the fact that they brought back Gauss. Why did you bring back Gauss? You should have brought back Barugan. Though, as it currently stands, Gamera Guardian of the Universe, it's a decent movie. It's certainly a very good reboot, and it turns Gamera into a household name that can be taken seriously. And it does show that if a franchise is butt fucked to death, it can still be rejuvenated with one more good installment, kind of like the Halloween series. No, Gauss does not retain his nipple vapor power. Thank God, too, because that's stupid. So Guardian of the Universe, it's not bad. I don't shit on it nearly as much as I used to, but it's still highly overrated, and it's still got some problems. At number 37 is the first Rebirth of Mothra. In hindsight, again, this movie does have its problems. It kind of suffers from Godzilla vs. Hedorah syndrome, where it's got an extremely forced environmental save the earth message. But outside of that, I still think Rebirth of Mothra is a fun movie. It's got fun action scenes. It's got decent special effects. It's got a great music score. Overall, I think Rebirth of Mothra is shit on way too much. And I used to say it was my favorite of the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy. That's not the case now, but still, it's not bad. It's fun to watch. Squeak. At number 36 is Godzilla vs. Megalon. I'm not going to repeat myself too much. It's fun. It's got a shit ton of problems. It should have been like an extended episode of Zone Fighter. It should have been a TV special. It feels like a TV special. It feels incredibly rushed. But aside from that, it's still fun. Like I said earlier, I think if a movie's rushed and it's still entertaining, that's not bad, because at least you're entertained watching it. It's got fun monster action. Jet Jaguar is such an underrated Toho character. Megalon is such an underrated Toho character. Overall, what can I say about Godzilla vs. Megalon that I haven't said already? It's fun, but incredibly flawed. Definitely one of those Godzilla movies that would benefit from a remake. And number 35 is Return of Daimajin. This is my favorite of the 3 Daimajin movies. I said for a while that it was Wrath of Daimajin. But in hindsight, I think I just do enjoy watching Return of Daimajin the most out of all 3. Even though it's the shortest of the series, and I'd probably say that that's its biggest problem, is that it is so goddamn short. It's only an hour and 17 minutes long. How do you make a good movie out of something that's an hour and 17 minutes long? Well, you could go watch Batman and Harley Quinn, but you could also come back here and watch Return of Daimajin. For what it has and for what it does, Return of Daimajin is an entertaining movie. The best effects of the entire trilogy, the best music of the entire trilogy, the best action scenes of the entire trilogy. It just has the best of both worlds. 3 probably has the best story and the best dialogue, whereas the first movie probably has the biggest amount of potential. But Return of Daimajin, I feel, does have the best of both worlds, and it is the best of the trilogy. And number 34 is Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. I kind of have nostalgia goggles covering myself with Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. And also, despite the fact that the film does feel like a TV movie, it feels rushed. It retcons the events of the original Godzilla, which many, many people would see as a giant sin. In some ways, they're right. Megaguirus, still for what it is, it's an entertaining monster movie. It has its flaws, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone else says that it is, though it does have its problems. Yes, I feel that way too. I feel like its retconning is unnecessary. And number 33 is Destroy All Monsters. Like I said in my ranking the Godzilla series, I want to like this movie. But just as a finale to Toho's sci-fi series, it fails. And that's really, in my opinion, its biggest problem, is that it fails as a finale. But outside of that, I think the movie has a lot of good things going for it. It's got great effects, great music, a great dark tone, fun monster action. It's just bogged down with horrendous human characters. And just as a finale, it fails. So that's all I'm going to say. At number 32 is Rebirth of Mothra 3. My favorite of the Rebirth of Mothra movies. Best effects, best action scenes, best music. It just has a really weak story and really bad human characters. But outside of that, Rebirth of Mothra 3 is a fun time. And if you had to pick a favorite of the 3 Rebirth of Mothra movies, I definitely think most people should pick Rebirth of Mothra 3. It also, in my opinion, has probably the second best version of a Ghidorah monster out there. That, of course, being Grand King Ghidorah. I think that's the name. Yeah. At number 31 is Gamera the Brave. Wait. No, it's not. Never mind. Hang on. Gonna have to edit that out. Okay, so the real number 31 is King Kong 1976. Sorry, Jackie boy. It just barely made the cut. And I'll explain that quote in just a minute. King Kong 76. It's a fun monster movie. It's a fun 70s monster movie. Even though my two biggest problems with the movie is Jessica Lange and the lack of dinosaurs. Those really are the two biggest things that kill it for me. But outside of that, King Kong 76 is a fun monster movie. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, it's been a while since I watched the movie. But overall, King Kong 76, I don't have that much to say about it. And I'm not going to repeat myself too much from what Jackie Boy and I said in our review. It's fun. I don't hate it. I can enjoy watching it any day. Even though it's got a couple problems. Overall, it is a fun movie, and I do recommend any diehard King Kong fan to check it out. And now, from here on out, these the top 30. These are all movies that I do like, and these are all movies that I would say, if I was to make a top 30 list of my favorite monster / sci-fi movies that Toho or Dai have made, these are them. These are my top 30 favorite monster movies. And so, running into number 30, we have Gamera the Brave. In my opinion, is the most underrated Gamera movie of the entire franchise. Yes, there are aspects about it that are a little generic. And yes, I would have loved to see Godzilla versus Gamera on the big screen over this. But still, for what it is, I think Gamera the Brave is still a very fun, well-made, well-done movie. And there are far worse monster movies that you can watch other than Gamera the Brave. I think Gamera the Brave is slightly underrated. Fair enough. At number 29, Shin Gojira. Yep, I said it. Shin Gojira has a lot of problems. Yes. But there's so much to this movie that I feel like could have been much better done in a much better movie. Even though the problems I have do almost outweigh the good things I have to say about it, Shin Gojira is still a very interesting movie, and I can sit down and watch it and enjoy it. Just there are aspects about it that I absolutely hate, like the bullshit cliffhanger ending. Excuse me. At number 28, we have Godzilla 2014. This, in my opinion, is there's a lot of people that were saying which is better, Shin Gojira or 2014. I say 2014 is the better, more modern Godzilla movie. I don't give a shit what anybody else says. It's a great introduction to the MonsterVerse. It's a fun, modern American monster movie. It's got fun monster action, a great version of Godzilla. Overall, Godzilla 2014, it's got problems, yes, but still, 2014 is an enjoyable movie for what it is. Just if you're going into it expecting great human characters, you'll be sorely disappointed. Damn, you really haven't seen Shin? Smittenator, get off your ass and get around to it. Yes, let them fight. At number 27, oh boy, this is gonna raise some eyebrows. Number 27 is the original Godzilla. Lots of people would put this in their top 10s or their top 5s. I don't give a fuck. To quote Step Brothers. The original Godzilla, yes, it's an important movie. Yes, it's a great monster movie. It's a great movie in and of itself. I just prefer other Godzilla movies and other monster movies over the original Godzilla. I also love the audio commentary that's done for this movie, but overall, I love the original Godzilla. It's a great movie. I will take none of its importance or its praise away ever from the original Godzilla. I just like 26 more movies more than this movie. At number 26 is Godzilla 1984. This is my favorite of the 3 standalone Godzilla movies. This is the one that I can watch and be thoroughly entertained all the way through every time. The best of Teruyushi Nakano's effects of all of his Godzilla movies. Great music, good human characters, a great dark tone, and is a fantastic reboot. Potentially the greatest reboot to any movie character of all time. Holy shit, is Return of Godzilla a good movie. At number 25 is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. Yes, despite its problems, it's clearly rushed. It's clearly thrown together at the last minute. It's got a terrible English dub. It's got bad human characters. It's got the worst portrayal of Miki Sagusa of her entire filmography in the Godzilla franchise. Yep, you stupid men, all you want to do is destroy everything. What is she, a fucking Tumblr activist? Outside of that, though, Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, I feel, does get an unjust bad rap. It's entertaining for what it is. It's got fun monster fights, decent effects for the most part. And overall, it's just a fun, light monster movie. And it's also the best portrayal of anti-hero Heisei Godzilla. So I like that about him. So overall, Space Godzilla, it's a fun movie. It just has its problems, yes. But I like it. 24, King Kong Escapes. Yep, I said it. This is my 3rd favorite King Kong film. Don't care. Yes, the Kong suit looks terrible. Yes, the dub is terrible for, what's her name? Linda Miller. Yes, it feels like a cartoon movie. But still, King Kong Escapes is a lot of fun. It's a fun movie. If you and some friends want to sit down with some beer and some pizza and riff a really bad movie, but a really bad, fun, enjoyable movie, King Kong Escapes is prime material for that. And I would say this is probably Hideo Yamamoto's best role, because Doctor Who is so much fun to watch. And yes, I know that was based on the Rankin Bass King Kong show. And I would definitely say this is a fairly decent adaptation of that show from what I've seen. But overall, King Kong Escapes, it's got problems, but it's a fun movie. You can sit back and watch King Kong Escapes any day and just have fun, despite its problems. At number 23, Gamera the Giant Monster, the original Gamera movie. Like with a lot of movies that I seem to like, it has a lot of problems. And it's begging to be compared to the original Godzilla. And in quite a few aspects, I did in my review. But still, the original Gamera movie, for what it is still a fairly damn entertaining monster movie. And apparently it was a colossal success in Japan, too. What was I going to say? Fuck. I will also say this about Gamera. As a Godzilla ripoff, it's not terrible. There are far worse Godzilla ripoffs out there that are so blatant in ripping off Godzilla. I would actually say the biggest example of a Godzilla ripoff is Aegon the Atomic Dragon. If you were to watch the original Godzilla and then watch Aegon the Atomic Dragon, holy shit, it's like the poor man's version of Gojira. Oh my god. That movie is it's so clearly a Godzilla ripoff. But overall, Gamera the Giant Monster, for a Godzilla ripoff, it's not bad. For a monster movie in and of itself, it's not bad. And for the start of a franchise that despite having a lot of problems and a lot of really bad installments, it's one of the higher points of this franchise. So at least the series starts, as far as I'm concerned, it starts and ends good. And why would anybody want to watch Godzilla fuck Mothra? People. At number 22, we have Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. Speaking of the original script for King Kong Escapes, yes, this movie stinks of originally supposed to be a King Kong movie. But still, for what it is, Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster is a fun movie. Again, one of those movies that you can sit back with some friends and just watch a bad movie and enjoy it for what it is. It's fun. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I enjoy watching it. And when I have kids in the future, it's going to be one of the first Godzilla movies that I'm going to sit down with my kids and actually watch.
Great, they're going to watch Godzilla.
Oh, you damn right our kids are going to watch Godzilla. Sure as hell ain't going to watch My Little Pony.
I have a bunch of nerds running around the house.
We already plan to raise our kids as nerds. Hello, DC and Marvel fans. And number 21, we have Gamera versus Barugan, the best of the Showa Gamera series, one of the best of the 60s monster movies ever made. Yes, the biggest problem is that it lacks Gamera. Holy fuck, is Gamera superfluous in his own movie? But still, Gamera versus Barugan is almost an unsung masterpiece. Great effects, very ambitious story, fun monster action, a great tone, a fun antagonistic monster. Overall, Gamera vs. Barugan is a damn fine monster movie. And I'm glad to have had Smitty to review it with me as well. It was a fun time. At number 20 is Son of Godzilla. When I have kids, this will be the first Godzilla movie that I will have them watch with me. Son of Godzilla is just a fun movie. If you cannot sit down and watch Son of Godzilla and just have a smile on your face and think that the world isn't so bad, something's wrong with you. Yes, Son of Godzilla has some ugly-ass monster designs, but outside of that, I think Son of Godzilla is, again, almost an unsung masterpiece. It's just a fun, campy, great Godzilla movie. What else can I say? At number 19 is Gamera 2, Advent of Legion. This is my favorite Gamera movie. And I think it is the best of the Heisei Gamera trilogy. Despite its shitty CG effects, I think it's a damn fine movie. It's a fun monster movie. It's got great fight scenes, great special effects. Definitely the most hellacious beating that Gamera takes of the entire Gamera series. Best music, best final battle. Overall, Gamera 2 is the best Gamera movie of the entire Gamera franchise, in my opinion. And if you don't like this movie, you're a soulless monster. Don't give a fuck. Yeah, that beeping is annoying. At number 18 is Invasion of the Astro Monster. Again, I feel like this is another unsung masterpiece because holy shit, in my opinion, this is Ishiro Honda's best pure sci-fi movie. There's some others out there that are close contenders. Destroy All Monsters, if you look at it as a sci-fi movie, does come pretty close. But god damn, is Invasion of the Astro Monster such a fun movie. It's a great alien invasion movie. It's a fun monster movie. It's a great sci-fi movie. It's Invasion of the Astro Monster is just a great movie. It's not the best Godzilla movie. I will agree with that. Godzilla does not have that much screen time, and it is pretty irritating to watch. But still, Invasion of the Astro Monster is still a very, 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 very fine movie. And even though Godzilla doesn't have enough screen time, I still highly recommend anyone to check it out. And number 17 is Terror of Mechagodzilla. For Ishiro Honda's last Godzilla movie, boy, does he go out with a bang. For Shiro Honda's last Toho movie, boy, does he go out with a bang. Some of Teruyoshi Nakano's best effects of all the Godzilla movies he's done. Actually, I'd probably say it's his second best Godzilla movie. A great mix of the dark and the camp for its tone. Great sequel, too. It definitely does do very well for... Hang on. I lost my train of thought. Fuck. Oh yeah, definitely in terms of continuity, Terror Mechagodzilla is fantastic. I love movies that have an excellent sense of continuity. Fun monster fights. Really, the only area that the movie lacks is that Titanosaurus is kind of bland for a final monster, final original monster of Toho's original Godzilla series. And it kind of doesn't live up to the original script, but overall, for Ishiro Honda's last Godzilla and Toho movie, he sure goes out with a bang. At number 16 is Godzilla Tokyo SOS. I said this in my ranking. I do prefer X Mechagodzilla over Tokyo SOS, but that being said, I still really do love Tokyo SOS. Fantastic effects, great music, great action scenes, and the last movie to feature Hiroshi Koizumi. I've said this many times. Hiroshi Koizumi is my favorite Toho actor of all time. And yes, it works excellently as a sequel to Mothra 1961. So Tokyo SOS is a fun movie. At number 15 is Godzilla X Mechagodzilla, the predecessor to Tokyo SOS. I'm not saying that Tokyo SOS is a downgrade from X Mechagodzilla. I just simply do prefer X Mechagodzilla over Tokyo SOS. I feel like the monster fights are even better in this movie than they are in Tokyo SOS. It has a little bit more of a consistent tone. It has a little bit better of a better pace. And I got Justin, enough with Yumiko Shaku. I don't fucking care. She's not that attractive. I'll explain later. So to stop shoving her in my face, because I don't care. She feels like a ripoff of the protagonist to Godzilla vs. Megaguirus anyway. Really, the Tokyo SOS, aside from Hiroshi Koizumi and X Mechagodzilla's biggest problem is that they have boring human characters. But still, if you're watching the film purely for monsters and special effects, X Mechagodzilla is right up your alley. It's a fun movie. Number 14 is King Kong 05. Oh boy, do I love King Kong 05. Damn fine modern monster movie. Kind of, in a way, it was kind of the last modern monster movie that we had, not counting Cloverfield, before Pacific Rim. I saw it in theater, and it was one of the best movie theater experiences that I've ever had in my entire life. I don't give a shit that it's almost 3.5 hours long. I love it. I love the fact that it's as long as it is. Granted, when King Kong is in New York, that's when the movie sort of goes downhill for me. But still, when Anne and Kong are slipping on the ice in Central Park, I love that scene. It's one of my favorite scenes of any King Kong or monster movie ever made. Andy Serkis is perfect as King Kong. He truly is the master of motion capture. I don't give a shit what anyone says about King Kong 05. It is a masterpiece. And in my opinion, it potentially is Peter Jackson's best movie. I don't care what anyone else says. I love Lord of the Rings. Don't get me wrong. I have seen the extended cut. I still think it's a great movie. I don't care what anyone else says about it. I love King Kong 05. I love Lord of the Rings, but still, King Kong 05 will always have superior thoughts to me. At number 13 is Mechagodzilla 74. This is my second favorite Mechagodzilla movie. And I'd actually probably have to say it might be the most fun. And of the 70s Godzilla movies, I would probably also say quality wise, it is the best. It doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look rushed. It doesn't look poorly made. It looks like Mechagodzilla 74 had, I think by default, because Submersion of Japan came out in 1973, and that was a colossal hit for Toho. But it looked like Mechagodzilla 74 had a bigger budget than the previous Godzilla movies. Terra Mechagodzilla kind of looks like it had a slightly smaller budget, but there's still it. Both movies do feel like they had a bigger budget than most. Certainly over Megalon. As much as I like that movie, Megalon does look cheap. But Mechagodzilla 74, it's just an unabashedly fun movie. Like what Brendan Tenold says in his top 10 best video movies he's reviewed, Mechagodzilla 74 is just an unabashedly fun movie. It's one of the best Godzilla movies ever made. It's one of the best of the Showa series, that's for goddamn sure. And overall, Mechagodzilla 74, it's just a fun movie. And I can't believe there's some people out there who still have not seen 74. At number 12 is Godzilla versus Ghidorah, another miserably underrated Godzilla movie. Yes, it has flaws, most notably being the extremely forced environmental messages. But outside of that, I think Ghidorah is a fine Godzilla movie. It's so much fun. I have so much nostalgia for it. Godzilla takes the most hellacious beating of the entire franchise, and he still keeps on coming, and he still goes on kicking. I love it. Ghidorah is a fine film. Number 11 is Frankenstein versus Baragon. Holy shit, do I think this movie is so miserably underrated. I would definitely say Frankenstein vs. Baragon is an unsung masterpiece. Yeah, Frankenberry. Not she. Why I say she? Frankenstein vs. Baragon. I think outside of the Godzilla series, it's Ishiro Honda's best movie. It's got the best tone. Hey, look, Marble Loaf. It's got the best tone. Not the greatest human characters, but still has a better than average human cast. Fantastic special effects, fantastic music, awesome monster fight. Frankenstein vs. Baragon is just an unsung masterpiece, and I love Frankenstein vs. Baragon so goddamn much. It is such an underrated movie. Number 10, the top 10. I'm just going to kind of breeze through these fairly quickly. Godzilla vs. Gigan is number 10. Yes, despite the fact that there's a lot of stock footage, Godzilla vs. Gigan is a fun monster movie. I could watch this any day and be thoroughly entertained all the way through. I love Godzilla vs. Gigan. Number 9 is Godzilla 1998. Yes, it's a terrible, terrible adaptation of Godzilla. But I have super nostalgia goggles on watching this movie. I can watch this and be entertained all the way despite its cringy dialogue and being blatantly a big ripoff of Jurassic Park. I can still love it and enjoy it every time I watch it. And number 8 is Kong Skull Island, my favorite King Kong film ever made. I'm not sure if Godzilla vs. Kong will top as a Kong movie, if it'll top Kong Skull Island. I mean, hopefully it does, because I really, 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 really hope Godzilla wins. And I hope Godzilla vs. Kong is a good movie. But regardless, Kong Skull Island is a masterpiece. I refuse to acknowledge the existence of anybody saying that Kong Skull Island is a bad movie. Anybody who says Kong Skull Island is a bad movie, as far as I'm concerned, you are a fucking retard. Go fuck yourself. Kong Skull Island is a masterpiece. At number 7, we have Godzilla vs. Biollante, another miserably underrated Godzilla movie, though nowadays it seems to be gathering a lot more fans. It's also one of the most ambitious and original Godzilla movies of the entire franchise. Even though I shit on the Heisei series a lot, and rightfully so, in my opinion, because I don't think the Heisei series is nearly as good as everyone else makes it out to be, there are still points of the Heisei series that I do enjoy. I love 1984. I love Biollante. I like Space Godzilla, and there's one more of the Heisei series that I do like. Okay, so hang on. At number 6, we have Mothra versus Godzilla, a masterpiece Godzilla movie. It's easily Ishiro Honda's best Godzilla movie, and I would debatably say it might be Ishiro Honda's best movie overall because everything clicked. It was like clockwork. Everyone was at the top of their A game and having a shit ton of fun making this movie. It's one of the best Godzilla movies ever made. It's one of the best monster movies ever made. I would also kind of make an argument to say it's one of the best movies, period, ever made. Mothra vs. Godzilla is awesome, and it also has a fantastic audio commentary. At number 5, oh boy, Godzilla Raids Again. Yep, exactly like what Justin says. At number 5 is Godzilla Raids Again. Yes, it's the Son of Kong of Godzilla movies, but you know what? I really don't give a fuck. It's flawed. It's rushed. It's a quickie sequel. It's cheap, but damn it, I love it. I love Godzilla Raids Again. One of my favorite movies of all time. And Smitty, yes, I will be down for doing a Raids Again audio commentary with you. Absolutely. Just gotta find the time. At number 4, we have Godzilla 2000. I love it. Not much to say about that I haven't said already. It's one of my favorite Godzilla movies. It's one of my favorite monster movies. It's just in general one of my favorite movies. I have a butt-fuck ass ton of nostalgia for it. I love the audio commentary that's done for it. Yes, Justin, there is. 2000 is just a masterpiece Godzilla movie. I don't give a shit what anyone else says about it. It's great. I love it. At number 3, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Yes, I moved it. I moved it up so high on this list. I love this movie. It's my favorite movie theater memory with my wife. It's my favorite movie that I have seen in theaters this year. Fuck you, Smitty. I don't give a shit what anyone says about King of the Monsters. It is a masterpiece. One of the top 5 greatest Godzilla movies ever made. Blows 2014 out of the water. I don't give a shit what anyone else says about it. King of the Monsters is a masterpiece, and I love it. Go fuck yourself if you hate it. Just seriously, go grab a machete and just jam it into your skull.
That was extra.
Even Marvel thought it was. King of the Monsters is awesome. At number 2, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. My favorite of the Heisei series, my favorite Mechagodzilla movie, my favorite version of Mechagodzilla. I have a shit ton of nostalgia for it. Holy fuck, do I have a shit ton of nostalgia for it. Mechagodzilla 2 is a masterpiece. I could watch it any day and be always thoroughly entertained. Love it. And finally, at number 1, what the hell else do you think it's going to be? In my opinion, the best of all the Toho, Dai, Gamera, and Kong films. is Godzilla Final Wars. Like Justin kind of spoiled it. Final Wars is a masterpiece. It's my favorite Godzilla movie. It's my favorite kaiju movie. It's my favorite of this entire list. I can watch, me and my kids and also my wife, if she's down for it and if she likes it, we'll be watching this movie at least once every month or so when we later in life. It's that good of a movie, babe. Final Wars is just a masterpiece, and I love it so fucking much, and I enjoy it so fucking much. I enjoy it almost as much as Mecha. No, I'm not gonna say that. Nope. I just love Final Wars. I think it's a masterpiece, and I think it's the greatest Godzilla movie ever made. I think it's the greatest kaiju movie ever made. I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time ever made. And so there it is. That is my ranking of the Toho, TohoDaeiKong films. And my throat is fucking killing me, and I am fucking starving. And my ass is killing me sitting on this chair. So post your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much to everyone who is watching this video with me right now. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share this video with your friends. Look forward to future videos. For a long time, I am done with monster movies. Sorry to those who may be disappointed, but this is it. What the hell else can I do? Well, I could think of something, but I'm not going to do it for a while. Yeah, at least until Godzilla vs. Kong. So there you go. That's my ranking. And I hope you enjoyed. And as always, go out and watch some monster movies, for Christ's sake, and just love life and love the person that you're with. And I'll see you guys in the next video.